Good morning and welcome to another edition of the Daily Fix. I am your usual host and presenter, Advocate Tudo Hoyani. This morning I want to engage you in a frank discussion. A frank discussion based on, sentiments that really come from the bottom of my heart. When I see the wheels of justice in South Africa roll. And I've always said that, justice about what the public out there thinks justice is. In other words, our justice institutions, the courts must have the confidence of the people. People must, believe in the courts because they've vested, all their hope in the courts to deliver justice and acceptable justice. Let us take the recent decision by the Johannesburg High Court to grant KATISO Molefe bail in the amount of 400,000 rand. I have no issues with any court granting anybody bail if that particular court is convinced that that person deserves to be granted bail. And I'm not even questioning the decisions of the courts. As we all know, decisions of the court stand. But in spite of the fact that decisions of the court stand, nothing prevents us or stands in our way if we feel that such decisions are not proper or for whatever reason are unacceptable, for us to criticize those decisions. Now let me right away get back to KATISO, KT Molefe. KATISO Molefe has just been granted bail by the Johannesburg High Court for the second time. And mark my words, because that is the subject of my address this morning. For the second time, KATISO Molefe was first granted bail, I think, in 2024. Among other things, he was charged with the murder of one Aman Swart, an engineer. I think he worked for Eskom. So he was granted bail, and he has again been granted bail by the Johannesburg High Court because he's now suspected of the murder of, or is a murder suspect in the killing of DJ Sambudi. Now, the first thing that comes to my mind is, what is going on here? And perhaps you'll help me understand this, because to me it looks quite shocking and unprecedented, and it just sends out the wrong message out there about how the justice system in this country functions. Let us look at the appearance of KATISO KT Molefe before the Alexandra Regional Court. And you'll recall that at the Alexandra Regional Court, bail was denied. And there were many reasons why bail was denied by the magistrate presiding over that case. Among some of those reasons were that potential witnesses, were facing threats. There were also concerns that KATISO Molefe was a flight risk, but generally speaking, that would interfere with witnesses if he's granted bail. The court also took into account the seriousness of the charges that he faces. And the consideration being here being that, the more serious the offenses you face, the more likely you are not to stand your trial, given the likelihood of the sentences that might be meted out to you in the event that you are convicted. So that was the argument put before the Alexandra Regional Court by the Office of the Director of Public Prosecutions. And the magistrate agreed with the prosecution that it would not be in the interest of justice to admit or to grant bail to KATISO Molefe. Fast forward that same matter to October 10th or somewhere there, on Friday, yesterday. What was the date? Maybe I'm missing the date there. KATISO Molefe is now granted bail, lodges an appeal from the regional court, the Alexandra Regional Court, to the Johannesburg High Court. And the Johannesburg High Court comes to a completely different decision and grants him bail. And as Judge Wanders observed, he was in effect saying that there is no evidence. There's no evidence that the prosecutors had put before the court that would convince the court to say it would be in the interest of justice that KATISO Molefe should not be granted bail. So he was not convinced by the reasons that the prosecution was putting before him. The same reasons that the prosecution had advanced before the Alexandra Regional Court. But Judge Wanders just dismissed it all and said that it would be in the interest of justice that KATISO Molefe be granted bail. Now, let us look at the perspective or how this looks to the ordinary man and woman in the street who has got no legal training. Your ordinary South African who looks at all this as it unfolds. You commit a murder and you are arrested for a murder. You are granted bail. And while you're on bail, you are then again arrested. And you are again granted bail. Because as Judge Wanders observed as he granted KATISO Molefe that bail of 400,000, he said, I am admitting you to bail in the amount of 400,000 in addition to the 100,000 rand bail that you have already paid in a previous matter. That is the Armand Swart matter. So the Johannesburg High Court, in granting him this second bail, was fully aware that he was out on bail on the same murder charges involving a different victim, but murder all the same. I don't know what the court made of the submissions made by the NPA about KATISO Molefe having the potential to flee, about the likelihood that it would interfere with Crown witnesses, and all the other fears that the NPA had, that they had put before the Johannesburg High Court, which they had previously put before the Alexandra Magistrates Court. But the outcomes are totally different. Now, how does the ordinary man or woman make any sense of this? One court says you cannot be granted bail. It would not be in the interest of justice that you be granted bail. Another court, seized with the same set of facts, comes to a totally different decision and says, no, it is in fact not in the interest of justice to have you or for you to continue to be incarcerated. How do we reconcile the two decisions? But at another level, if we take the argument further, let us say, how do you get bailed twice for the same offense? Let us for one moment forget about the law. What does it say? Or what message is that sending out to the ordinary man and woman there in the street? That, oh, people murder, then they go to court and they get bail. They then go out again and murder. Go to court again and get bail. I think that brings the system into disrepute. That is exactly how people lose confidence in systems that are supposed to guarantee justice for us all. That's precisely the reason why people will say, things are not being taken seriously. It depends on which court you appear before. You go before the Alexandra Regional Court, and the Alexandra Regional Court makes one decision. All you have to do is to simply go to the Johannesburg High Court and have that same judgment overturned, and you are a free man. In spite of the fact that those concerns that were raised in the Alexandra Magistrates Court, they still stand. Those circumstances are still there. KATISO Molefe still has the capacity to interfere with ground witnesses. He's still a flight risk. But two decisions, two courts. And who's the winner in all this? KATISO KT Molefe. So, KT is a free man today. What do you think? Give me your thoughts in the comment section, and let's discuss this. How many times should a person get bail? 5 times, 6 times, 8 times? I don't know. But anyway, come back to me in the comment section. And having said that, let me thank you for watching this video. Let me thank you for all the views and subscriptions that I'm seeing. Like I'm saying, these days we are going to the 12,000 subscriber mark. We are just a few steps away. Let us make it a reality. Thank you very much.